Hey, this is Andrew Brown, and we are taking a look at GitHub Codespaces. This is a cloud developer environment, or also known as a CDE, integrated with your GitHub repo. And the idea is that you have this thing called a codespace. That's what they call their developer environment. And a codespace runs Ubuntu Linux Docker container on a virtual machine, hosted and managed by GitHub. So this is kind of a representation of how it works. I don't write it here, but the idea is that when you launch up GitHub Codespaces, it's actually cloning your GitHub repository so you can start working with it right away. And most cloud developer environments do that, so that's a pretty common pattern. And it's going to clone that repo into a workspaces folder. So you can interact with Codespaces via multiple ways. We have the SSH, via the GitHub CLI. You have code editors such as VS Code Browser, the desktop, JetBrains IDE. For the desktop, you can just open that up in the browser mode by going to Open in VS Code Desktop. And it does give you a bit more flexibility than the browser because there could be extensions that only work locally. And, it's just, you get a better experience there. But I usually use everything in the browser because I don't like to do local development anymore. I'm totally moved over to the cloud. But for the GitHub CLI commands, we do have a lot there. And so that's a great way to programmatically work with your GitHub Codespaces. When you create a new codespace, you'll have to choose the repo, the branch, the region, the machine type, and that shows that all there. That gives you a good idea of how you can configure your codespace. The regions you can choose from is US East, US West, Europe West, Southeast Asia, and the Australias. And you know what, I think when I first launched it, I don't know if it always shows me this options, but if you need to choose these options, you can make sure you get that stuff. There is a capacity of your environment based on the virtual machine type. So the larger it is, the more expensive it is, and they go based on cores. So you can see the larger the cores, the more RAM, and the more storage you're going to get. That second value being the storage. You can see all your codespaces across all your repos at github.com/codespaces. And the way you're going to start a codespace is if you drop down that code under the Codespaces tab, you can go ahead and create it on a particular branch. That's usually what you want to do is say, I want to launch this on main branch or a dev branch. You can obviously use the GitHub CLI to open up Codespaces. There is a limit of concurrent Codespaces allowed to run. If you hit that limit, you may need to stop other Codespaces first. I don't know if this is the case, but there might also be a hotkey within GitHub repo, but I'll have to go double check that before we talk about it, okay?